Hi guys, welcome back to our next lab, which is authentication part 2. Here what I have done, I haven't done any configuration for that, but what I have done in the topology, if you see that I have divided my topology from part 1 to different areas. So before we start configuring OSPF and putting them into areas, let's just verify what configuration we have on each router. So you can see that right now I do not have any configuration on router 1 or on router 2, so nothing on router 3 and nothing on router 4. So instead of that, let me verify that in my startup config do I have something or not. So I have base IP address config, and if I look, I have addressing here, so let's apply that. Okay, so let's see if that's not gonna work like that. What I'm gonna do is more action. But this is startup to default config set, and default config set should have nothing. Let's just verify. This guy has nothing. Well, if it's not gonna work like this, what I will do, I will copy it and I will paste it on the routers. That would save our time for initial config. I know that I have the config, but somehow it doesn't pick up in this case. So I don't want to waste time on this. Just want to make sure that I can run all my commands. So router 3 is done. Let's see router 4 and then router 5. Oops, I made a mistake. So let's do it again. 10:15. Okay, so now with that, let's verify again. Show IP interface brief, exclude assigned. So now I have my addresses in place, so that's good. That is good. And what I'm gonna do is that I will make sure that my final lab config is in place, because I'm gonna save it at the end. Let's go back. So I have my router 1 config there, and if I run the same command on all the routers, you will see that I have 2 interfaces here. Router 2 should have 3, router 3 should have 3, router 4 should have 3, and router 5 should have 2. Okay, so we are good. Everything is good and fine. There is no routing protocol running at the moment. So if I run show IP protocol, there is no routing protocol. So what I'm gonna do now is to make sure that my routing is as per the design. Okay, so let's do that. So if I do config t router OSPF1 router ID 001, and because router 1 all interfaces are in area 0, so I will say network 000 in area 0, right? So that is good enough for us. Let's move on to router 2, and on router 2 I will do the I won't be able to do the same, so let's do router OSPF1 router ID 0002 and then the network. So we know that 192.112.2 is in area 0, and we know that network 192.123.2 is in area 1, plus 1, the loopback is also in area 1. Okay, so this is how it's going to be. And then let's move on to router 3, router OSPF1 router ID is 0003, and here again we have 2 different. So let's do network 192.123.3. this is in area 1, and 34.3 is in area 2. So just change it to 34.3, and the loopback is also in area 2. So there we go. Let's do router 4. Config T, router OSPF1, router ID 0004, and network 192.134.4 is in area 2. Then area 3 is 45.4, and the loopback is also in area 3, right? So that is fine. Let's move on to router 5. Let's do that. Router OSPF1, and because all the interfaces are in area 3, so I can clearly say that we are doing it, we can do all in one statement, that all the interfaces are in area 3. There we go. So now if I look at router 1 and if I look at show IP route OSPF, you will see that I am only receiving anything between 1 and 2. I'm receiving 23 because that is directly connected to 2, so but I'm not receiving anything beyond 3, right? So if I go on 2 and if I do show IP route OSPF, I'm only seeing 1 and I am not seeing anything beyond 3, right? And if I go on 3, I'm only seeing 1 and 2, but I'm also not receiving anything from area 2. Area 2 is directly, so let's say area 3, so I'm not going beyond that, right? And the reason was this is discontiguous areas, right? So the area must pass through area 0, right? So to fix that, we have to make virtual link, right? And that's what we're gonna do next. First, we have to make sure that we have virtual link up so that we have end-to-end connectivity before we apply any authentication. So let's do that. Let's create, if I go into OSPF1 and I say area 1 virtual link, right? Because we are creating a virtual link between 2 and 3. So I will say 0.0.3 because that's the idea of that. And then on router 3, I will say router OSPF1 area 1 virtual link is 0.0.2, and I'm also having, well, I have to create another virtual link for area 2 because I need to go towards area 3. So I have to go on router 4 and I have to do the same. So I have to create area 2 virtual link towards 3. So now if we look now, because virtual link by default is in area 0, so if you look at show IP OSPF interface brief, you will see that virtual link is by default in area 0. It doesn't matter where you are creating it, it's in area 0. So now if I look at router 1 and if I look at my routing table, now I have all the routes from all the routers, and the reason for that is because because there is virtual link in between. So router 5 can send because router 4 has area 0, and then area 3 has a virtual link of area 0, and then area 2 has a virtual link of area 0. So that's how they are communicating now. So it means that if I do a trace to 1.1.1.5 with the source of loopback 0, I'm able to reach there, right? So that is absolutely a fine traffic, so there's no issue. Now, as per our second concept is that we have to create an authentication between router 1 and router 2 using password CCIE, use router configuration mode. So that's pretty easy. We have done that in the past. If I do router OSPF1 and I say area 0 authentication message digest, because that is what we want, and for the password we can go into serial 1 by 0 and we can say IP OSPF message digest key 1 MD5 CCIE, let's say, right? MD5. So I have a password here, and if I go on router 2 and I do the same, config T router OSPF1 area 0 authentication message digest, and then in serial 1 by 0 I say IP OSPF message digest key 1 MD5 CCIE. So now I have I should have the neighbor up. So if I do show IP route, show IP OSPF neighbor, you can see that I have my neighbor up, right? And it will remain up. So you can see that now my neighbors are good. So if I go on router 1 and I look at show IP route OSPF, you will see that I still have reachability, and if I do a trace, I still have reachability. Now, because virtual link is an on-demand circuit, even though we have said that area 0 must have authentication, right? So area 0 means that virtual link between these two must also have authentication, and then virtual link between these two must have authentication, and we haven't sent any authentication here. But because this link is up and this is on-demand link, like if I go, so you can see no error keys on OSPF VL0, but if you show IP OSPF neighbor, is still there, right? So there's no issue with that. So if I look at this interface, so if I do show IP OSPF interface, this actually just virtual link 0 is fine. Virtual link, oops, show IP OSPF, what was that? Virtual show IP OSPF virtual link. Here we go. Virtual links. If you look at here, you can see that this is a demand circuit and it's up, and it will not go down until the link goes down, right? So it won't go down. So that is, or it won't send any new update until there is a topology change of some kind. So if on router 2, if I go into loopback 0, and if I do a shutdown and then do show IP OSPF neighbor, now you see that virtual link goes down, and now it remains down. So now if I go on router 1, even though I just turn off the loopback, not the interface, so if I look at the neighbor, I'm fine with a neighbor router 2, but if I look at the route of OSPF, now I don't have any other route, right? So if I do no shut here, now what will happen, that this has come up, but show IP OSPF neighbor, but the relationship between those virtual link will not come up, because now they require authentication, right? So if I look at show IP OSPF neighbor, you see here it's up. So it means that if I look at show IP route OSPF, I still have my routes, right? But that's not true, because I don't think so that 4 can reach anymore. Now let's see, is it up? No, it's not up, right? So if I go on 3 and if I look at the things, then you will see. So now if I look at the route, and let's do a ping to 192.145.5, he can ping, right? Because that circuit is up and I have the route, but I cannot go backwards, so I cannot go towards 1, because 1 is not there, the link is not up, and the link will not come up until we set the authentication on that one. Okay, so let's continue on that one. So we have 3 methods through which we can enable that. We can enable authentication on 3, 4. Okay, for virtual link we can do that. We can also do authentication directly. So we can do configuration mode, router configuration mode authentication. We can do authentication on the virtual link of 2, 3, and 4, or we can disable authentication on routers to virtual link. So we have 3 methods of fixing this issue what we are having right now. So first method is enabling authentication on 3 and 4, because 2 already have. So if I go on 3 and I say config t router OSPF1 IP area 0 authentication message digest, and if I go on router 4, because I have to do it right now here. Router OSPF 1 area 0 authentication message digest, and I have to do that on router 5 as well. Oh no, not on router 5, because router 5 doesn't have anything on area 0, right? So now if you look, now this came up, and now router 1 should have all the routes back again, right? So this is the first method that on 3 and 4 I enabled the authentication. Now let's go back and we can also do this configuration directly on the virtual link. Okay, so instead of that we can do it on the virtual link on 2, 3 and 4. So instead of, because 2 already have one, so on 3 what we can do is we can say no, and then on 4 we can say no, right? So these are the two things. So let's do that one more time. It should not go, because as I said that this is a controlled on-demand circuit, so it's up, so we can go into that and we can shut it down, wait for the neighbor to go down, and even if I do no shut, it will remain down. So if you look, it is still up, and you can see that it's going down now. It's now 32, now 28, so it's going down. So it will go out of the table. Let's get it out of the table so that we can add further. This is that timer is reaching 8, 2, 0, and it's gone. Okay, so now it's gone. It's not going to come back up. So what we can do is that we can go on 3 and 4, because 2 already has that. So we can say that virtual area 1 or area 0, then just we can do it on the virtual link. So we can say area 1, because we created area 1 here. If I do remember it right, do show run section router OSPF. Yeah, we have area 1, right, and area 2. We have both of them here. We can do it here as well, and we can also set it up on the router 2 as well. So let's do that. Router, we are already in, so area 1 virtual link whatever, and then we can say message digest key 1, right, and then we have to define MD5, and then we have to define the key here as is. So let's say the key is CCIE, right, and that would be fine to bring that one up. So let's go on order 2. There's no authentication. It's not gonna work because we haven't set the key there, right? So we have to set the key here as well. So we can go into the router OSPF 1, and we can say area 1 virtual link 0003 authentication message digest. Oh, that was the command I should have done here, not this one. So let's do this, and instead of this I should say authentication message. So I'm just enabling message. I'm not giving any password here, so it doesn't matter. I have to do the same for, and you can see now it's up. So I have to do the same for area 2 virtual link, which is going towards 4, and I have to say authentication message digest, and I have to set it up here as well, that area 2 virtual link 0003 authentication message digest. So now with this it will come up, and I should see router 1 again, everything is there, and 2 is shut down. So let me do no shut here, interface loopback 0, no shut, and by doing no shut it will come up here. Just a little bit. Here we go. So now if I trace, I should be able to trace 1.1.5 with the source of loopback 0. So that is fine now. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is done. And the last method is that we disable the authentication on router 3 and on router 2, right? So that's what we can do. So on router 3 we should do show run section router. So I'm just removing what I did here. So I will go here and I will say no, and then I will also say no here, and I will verify what I have removed. Right, so I removed those commands, and you see I removed the whole command, but it only removed this type. And I was trying to show you guys this in the last, but when I run that on that one, it removed everything. So this is just for that. But now I have, so I don't have to type it again. So let's go on 4, do the same. So I only have 1, so let's do this and verify that I have that command in. So I have that command in, right? And on 2 I will also do this. If I look at the running config of OSPF, I need to remove this command. Right. So this command, and if I look it again, I should have a virtual link towards 3. So that is fine. So now as area 0 authentication message is up, what I need to do is I will just disable it from router 2 perspective. So on router 2, if I say that area 1 virtual link, this is going to 003 message authentication, and here we can define authentication, and we have an option of null, so we can disable that. So if I do null, it's nullified. So once it's nullified, I should have my neighbor without any. You see, I have my neighbor back. So that is the key, guys. So this is how you run that. Give it a time, it will work. See, it works. So this is what you need to understand, that virtual link by default is in loopback 0. Oh, sorry, in area 0. And if there's no topology change, and if you're applying authentication or anything, it won't impact that traffic. So to make it impacted on that traffic, you have to have a topology change where the on-demand circuit will come into play, so the updates will go. Otherwise, there's no update going on and off on virtual link, right? That is the end of this lab. I hope that I'm going to see you guys in the next lab.